People ask, how can the Torah be considered the basis of modern ethics if it allows slavery? The key to answering this question lies in the fact that what is called slavery in the Torah is very different from what is called slavery in the non-Jewish world. According to the Torah, no one has a right to own another human. An owner does not own a slave, but his work and the results of his work. Our understanding of slavery comes from the novels about slaves in Europe, Asia, in Africa. We imagine back-breaking labor, terrible conditions, lynching, and even killings of slaves. However, under the Jewish law, the master had no right to inflict pain on his slave. A person who strikes his slave must set him free. A slave cannot be forced to work more than a hired free laborer. When we look at the workers' rights that the modern unions are fighting for, we see that they have a lot to learn from the Torah regarding the treatment of slaves. There is a discussion in America today about whether an employer is obligated to pay his or her employees a livable wage. According to the Torah, if one hires a free person and this free person is ready to work for less than a livable wage, the Torah does not obligate the employer to pay more. But if you have a slave, then you must fully provide for him or her. Housing, the food, medical services, and everything else. Slaves were not allowed to work on Saturdays. A slave owner cannot eat until he gave food to his slaves. Imagine if we had a law today that says that any employer cannot take his salary until he pays his workers. How did one become a slave? It can be done only as a result of a court order. A thief became a slave if he could not pay back for the stolen goods. Today, when police catches a robber who has already spent everything he stole, the victims have no chance of getting any compensation. Under the Torah law, a thief would restitute the damage with his labor. A person who could not repay the debt also had an option to return the money through becoming a slave. A poor man could sell himself into slavery if he could not provide for himself. While allowing it, the Torah, though, always discouraged it in very strong terms. And slaves always had to be set free on the 7th year. Prisoners of war also became slaves. In modern Western world, they are usually put into prisons or executed. In ancient Judea, they worked to benefit the people they wanted to destroy. The Talmud says that a person who obtains himself a slave, in fact, ends up getting himself a master. And looking at the Torah laws, we understand why. We see that slavery, according to the Torah, is a humane way of restitution by one's labor in the situations where no other option is available.